Designing a memorable video game character is hard. You can be as creative as you like and employ the most rigorous focus testing, but it's impossible to know in advance if your creation will capture the love of your intended audience. Will your anthropomorphic woodland creature achieve the notoriety of Sonic the Hedgehog? Will your armored space marine blast his way into the social consciousness as effectively as Master Chief? Will your blob with eyes become as popular or iconic as Nintendo's blob with eyes? It's a risky business, a lottery, a gamble. If only there was some way to cheat the whole concept. Well, friends, it turns out that there are a whole host of characters and creatures out there with an already established name just lining up to be put in your game. These characters are in the public domain, which means that they are free for anyone to use, no matter the medium or the genre. Yes, you and everyone else can put one or more of the following characters into a game, and no one is going to get sued, even if you sell thousands of copies. That's guaranteed profit, and you're welcome. From folk heroes to cosmic horrors, there's a little bit of something to suit every taste. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are 10 public domain characters you can put in your game right now. Number 10. Robin Hood. You know, I have a couple of things in common with Robin Hood. I'm renowned throughout all of England for my heroism and generosity, and I look fantastic in a pair of green tights. However, that's not to say that a Robin Hood video game has to be all family-friendly and pantomime-y. Imagine a darker take on the hero of Sherwood Forest, a medieval GTA, for example, with a bit of giving to the poor on the side, or maybe not at all if you want to, buy a nice sword or something. The fact is, the man is open to interpretation. Robin Hood's legend has been pieced together from tales, ballads, and hearsay from as far back as the 1370s. Most video games that feature him tend to stick to the accepted image, though. The tactical Robin Hood, the Legend of Sherwood, the retro Super Robin Hood, and the worst games ever featured Robin Hood's Quest all show Mr. Hood in a similar light. A dark and serious band of merry men might be quite interesting, or maybe you could take the world's most famous outlaw out of the forests of medieval England and drop him into a dystopian future, perhaps. No matter what you try, though, the greatest interpretation of Robin Hood will always be Maid Marian and her merry men. Hold on, did I just show my age? Number 9. Sherlock Holmes. The world's most famous detective is a cultural icon. Cutting an emblematic figure with his pipe and deerstalker hat, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's creation is recognized the world over. He first appeared way back in 1887 and is said to have been influenced by the works of Edgar Allan Poe. That's all ancient history, though, in a time before video games even existed. Seriously, people had to read books for entertainment back then, can you imagine? Awful. Now, Mr. Holmes has been in quite a few games already, and they mostly stick to a comfy Victorian or Edwardian-era London theme. But, as seen in other media, the great detective fits into any tonal setting or time period. Everything is fair game. Sherlock Holmes in space? Go for it. Sherlock Holmes in dinosaur times? Why the heck not, my dear Watson? Speaking of Dr. Watson, Sherlock's plucky sidekick is also in the public domain, and as evidenced by Frogware's 2007 release Sherlock Holmes Nemesis, giving these well-known characters creepy teleporting powers is totally acceptable. You don't have to be a master of deduction to see that the possibilities are endless. Number 8. Hercules. The most famous hero of all time, Hercules, or Heracles if you want to get properly Greek about this, is ready to star in your video game. Not to mention all of his heroic pals, Achilles, Atalanta, Jason, the villains associated with all of them, and the pantheon of deities that preside over the whole thing. They're all good to go. Also, you may be using characters with an established canon, but that doesn't mean you have to stick to it. Immortals Phoenix Rising presented these heroes as corrupted versions of themselves and had the player face them in tough boss fights, and God of War 3 pits the player against old Hercules too. Wait, is there anything out there that actually lets you play as the man himself? Yes, of course, thanks Disney. It's not just Greek mythology that's ripe for the picking either. Those Norse lads such as Loki and Odin are ready to star in your game too. Just remember, if you choose to use Thor, don't make him look too much like Chris Hemsworth. Also, try to avoid whatever happened with Too Human. These public domain characters don't guarantee you won't get into trouble for other reasons, Number 7. Count Dracula. Inspired by the real-life Vlad the Impaler, Count Dracula originated in an 1897 novel by Bram Stoker. An undead, blood-drinking Transylvania nobleman, he has the ability to turn his victims into more vampires, increasing his legion of undead followers. A monster with a dashing, charming side, Dracula is a master of seduction as well as terror. He's one dangerous sucker. There are plenty of games with vampires in them, but surprisingly few that star the man himself, the vampire man himself. There's a series of point-and-click adventure games in which he's the title character, and various other appearances here and there. However, he's most famous for his starring roles throughout the Castlevania series, where players would eventually get a chance to play as the granddaddy of neckbiters himself. What would you do with Count Dracula in your game? Maybe weave a dark tale in which players take on the role of the Count, having to keep him alive by skulking down from his spooky mountain castle and terrorizing unfortunate Transylvanian villagers with his bloodlust. Or just go the obvious route and have him as your big bad. Whatever you do though, please don't make him sparkle. Number 6. King Arthur. Perfect for an open-world fantasy RPG, the King Arthur mythos comes pre-packaged with a whole host of heroes, villains, side characters, and iconic locations to get your creative juices flowing. Arthur Pendragon is another hero of British folklore, but unlike Robin Hood, his stories tend to involve dragons and wizards. If you want something grounded in reality, go for Robin Hood. If you want to throw monsters, magic, and mysticism at players, then King Arthur is your man. There are plenty of games already that star the Saxon-defying monarch. King Arthur, the role-playing war game, gives the legend a tactical spin, and the quest for Camelot on the GBA provides a retro-flavored Arthurian experience. Miss Croft breaks into King Arthur's tomb in Tomb Raider Legend as well, proving that games in modern settings can get in on the Arthurian action by having players dig through ancient mysteries. Also, it's fairly safe to say that good old Gandalf was heavily influenced by Merlin, so any of the Lord of the Rings games have been directly influenced by Arthurian legend as well. Anything with a pointy-hatted wizard in it, actually. Or a sword in a stone. Or a lady in a lake. In fact, have you got a table in your house? What shape? Round? Thought so. Stop ripping off Arthurian legend, I see you. Number 5. Davy Jones. Thinking of creating a seafaring adventure? Salty sea dogs, pirates, and stormy seas? Well, there's a well-known name out there who is just perfect to play the villain in a nautical tale. Everyone knows the name Davy Jones, but no one really knows his precise origins. This means that you can play around with his story, his motives, and his appearance. You can make him the undead captain of a ghost ship, a mysterious deity of the sea, or an unexpected ally for the player. You could even give him a wibbly octopus face, like in Pirates of the Caribbean. Of course, Mr. Jones is probably best known for his locker, which is a metaphor for the bottom of the sea, a place where, funnily enough, sailors throughout history never really wanted to find themselves. Imagine if the locker weren't a metaphor though, and your game were about finding out exactly what Davy keeps in there. I reckon it's his swimming trunks. Disney's take on the famous nautical character has appeared in various Pirates of the Caribbean games and more recently in Microsoft's Sea of Thieves. The House of Mouse does not own the character of Davy Jones though, so go ahead, put him in your game. The big, scary multinational media conglomerate can't hurt you, we promise. Number 4. Cthulhu. If you don't find Davy Jones's locker at the bottom of the sea, then you might find this guy. H.P. Lovecraft encouraged other authors to make use of the mythos he created, and nowadays most of his stuff is well out of copyright anyway. This means that if you need an ancient, unknowable horror that could turn the average human into a gibbering wreck just for gazing upon its profane form, then Cthulhu is totally up for it. You might already have some competition though. The Great Old One has been in a fair few video games already, and many otherwise unrelated games have been influenced by the Cthulhu tales. These productions tend to feature murky coastal towns, disturbing haunted locals, and lots of tentacles. That's not to say that you have to make your Cthulhu game creepy though. Maybe the big guy is a benevolent elder god in your universe, defending the Earth from more terrifying threats from beyond the stars. Or you could just pit him against mechs, dragons, and krakens and see who wins, like in Scribblenauts. Just try not to do anything that might summon the real Cthulhu from the depths, okay? What? He might be real. We don't know. Lovecraft was a creepy guy, and he was also many other things that we probably shouldn't discuss in this video. Moving on. Number 3. Aladdin. If you have a mental image of Aladdin right now, the likelihood is that you're seeing a handsome young man with a bright smile, big brown eyes, a purple waistcoat, and a little red hat. Disney's rendition of the character is rightly iconic, and as far as we can tell, almost every video game appearance of his is based on Disney's interpretation. It doesn't have to be that way though. Aladdin, and indeed all of the characters from the Arabian Nights tales, are free for anyone to use. The likes of Prince of Persia, Shantae, and Legend of Oasis, Story of Thor in Europe, all dip into the Arabian Nights mythology, but none features Aladdin and his genie pal. Imagine a modern AAA title in which Aladdin battles creatures of Arabian lore on a quest to find the lamp, and once the lamp is found, the player can get to wishing. Alright, so it might be a bit of an ask to expect programmers to allow players to wish for absolutely anything they like in the game, and probably a really bad idea too, but it is fun to imagine, and multiple choice wishes are always a possibility. Remember though, that in most interpretations of genie myths, they aren't always as friendly as Disney's big blue blabbermouth, and the wishes have a horrible habit of going wrong. Ah well, as long as wayward wishes don't wipe the save file or brick the console, we'll be fine. Number 2. The Mothman. Right, you're coming up with ideas for an atmospheric horror title and you need a creepy antagonist. Something terrifying, eerie, and mysterious. Well, you could do a lot worse than the Mothman, who is all of those things and more. I mean, I can barely contain my panic when a slightly large moth flaps into the room. This guy would terrify me beyond the capacity for rational thought. This relatively recent addition to American folklore emerged during a spate of sightings in West Virginia beginning in 1966. Locals would report a large humanoid with glowing eyes and massive wings. Sometimes the creature would have a head, and sometimes its eyes would be described as beaming out from its torso. The sightings were popularized as precursors to disasters, and links to nearby military bases or even UFOs were suggested. Existing games that have drawn upon the Mothman legend tend to play upon this ambiguousness. Castlevania, Dawn of Sorrow's brief encounter and rare sightings in Fallout 76 accentuate its creepy mysteriousness. The Shin Megami Tensei / Persona interpretation is super cute though. Maybe the Mothman isn't so creepy after all. No, he is. He really is. Number 1. Santa Claus. Alright, let's finish things with a little more cheer. A little more Christmas cheer. Every kid's favorite character of ancient legend based on a 4th century Greek bishop inspires fuzzy feelings of joy, excitement, and contentedness. Stick good old St. Nicholas in your project and expect to evoke snowy, jolly, Christmassy themes. Although that's not to say that things can't get a little sinister, I suppose. Most of Santa's appearances in games are either happy or comedic. 16-bit platformers such as Days Before Christmas tend to play up the cute factor, and the big bearded man's roles in the like of Saints Row turn the absurdity up to 11. There's nothing stopping you from making your Santa game serious though, maybe even spooky. Hell, you could even make a game about Santa playing ice hockey. Why the flip not? If you release it in December, it's pretty much guaranteed a few sales. A word of warning though, steer clear of Rudolph. Believe it or not, that guy is owned by an outfit called the Rudolph Company, and they don't mess around. If you use the famous reindeer without permission, they'll give you more than a red nose, if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? Because I actually have no idea, and I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you.